Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Backpack Battles. Now, what are we doing today? Well, it's patch note day. You know what that means? We're going over the patch notes. So, before we go into the patch notes, what do I think about the meta before this patch? Well, I think it was actually not that bad of a meta. Berserker was a little overtuned, but between Berserker, Pyro, and Ranger, I feel like they were all relatively equal in power level. With Berserker just barely edging out over Ranger and Pyro. Pyro was, in my opinion, probably weaker than Ranger. Ranger being in second in terms of strength, with Pyro being in third, and poor Reaper being in dead last. And I love her. Reaper is my favorite class, but I personally do not think Reaper was a real class. Now, will these balance changes change that? Well, let's see. So, what have we got here? All right, patch 0.97. Time for another balance patch where we focus on the new subclasses. We are mostly through the ripple effects of adding the new classes, so we'll switch to a slower balance patch schedule soon. I'm actually really curious as to what they mean by that. Obviously, I know what they mean, but I'm wondering, like, how slow is slow? Every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month? Who knows? Only devs do. And in all honesty, they probably don't know themselves. They're probably trying to figure it out. So unless some major issue comes up, there might be no balance patch next week. In the meantime, we are preparing the next item set coming soon. That, on the other hand, is really exciting to hear. Because, while I said it earlier, I think Reaper is the weakest class in the game, she has potential. I know, people are always like, oh yeah, potential. That's just a nice way of saying she's trash. I do think she has a lot of potential in her class, but the problem is, I don't think changing the numbers, like the cooldowns or just numbers in general on her items, will help her. I feel like she needs more items to have more synergy with what she has. Give her maybe a little more scaling that's unique to her and not just like a steel goo. Every other class has that. Berserker has that in the form of things like Chain Whip, Berserker's Rage itself, Busted Blade. Ranger has her crits. Pyromancer has the heat mechanic. Yes, you could argue there's Poison, but Poison is only good in the mid game, and it kind of falls off in the late game in terms of scaling. And you kind of need something to be... You need the Poison to be amplifying something up. Right now we have Darksaber for that, which is kind of nice, but the problem with that is Darksaber Poison Goo. Poison Goo himself isn't amazing in the late game compared to, say, like a Steel Goo or a Blood Goo or a Pyro Chili Goo. And it takes a long time to get enough poison for Darksaber to do work. And the potion side, the potions with like Poison Potion, Armor Potion, Darksaber, and Scythe, that is good. But it's a little weak against, say, Berserker. Berserker's Rage is just really good against Reaper. And it's really inconsistent and hard to get. So I would like to see some new items. Basically, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is the new items will theoretically really help out Reaper. So enough about me rambling about Reaper. Let's go through the patch. First off, we got a new outfit for Berserker. Great for the people who want to look good while they play this game. But as for the actual balance, let's see what we got here. Lots of neutral changes. So let's see. Got a couple of badge changes. So Leaf Badge and Skull Badge are both a little bit faster. A little surprised they're buffing the Leaf Badge. I always felt the Leaf Badge was fine as is. Skull Badge, I can definitely see the buff. The problem with Skull Badge, in my opinion, is not that it's bad. It's just that, again, Reaper items are not that great. Like, Mushroom's not a great food. Scythe is good. I'll give Scythe that. Like, Scythe is a good item, though. Flame Badge is getting a little more heat. Kind of surprised they're buffing Flame Badge. I honestly think Flame Badge is fine because Pyro items are good. Like, Chili Pepper's a great item. Blood Harvester and Villain Sword are costing 10 gold instead of their 11 gold. Sure, whatever. Like, Blood Harvester's problem is not that it's too expensive. Its problem is that it kind of just sucks. And, you know, stacking Vampirism is not a great build, but it's an okay thing. Like, you can do, like, Blood Harvester, Hungry Blades, get a lot of Vampirism or something. That's cute. Villain Sword's fine. Like, Villain Sword's always been, like, just really good in the mid game, kind of sucks in the late game, but you can always add, like, lots of daggers, gems, and so on. So it's kind of nice to see. But yeah, it always felt like those two items were just a little too expensive to even just pick up as a meme, so it's kind of nice. Another stone buff. Stone is now going to be 2.7 seconds instead of 3 seconds. Kind of a big buff in my opinion for Ranger specifically, but for all classes because it's a neutral item. But I feel like Rangers use stones the best. Bag of rocks, bag of stones with a hero sword or a hero longsword, and you know, maybe put the rocks that are in the bag of stones in the Ranger bag for crits too. That's some pretty solid early to mid game potential there too. That lets you make it through the mid game and transition into say a rapier or a greatsword kind of build, an ILG. So I kind of like this buff. It also does make me want to play stones a little longer. Pretty nice for burst, like early-ish burst builds too. So I kind of like this buff. Small Falcon Blade buff too. Cooldown 0.1 second decrease in the cooldown, whatever. Kind of also a Crossblades buff too at the same time because, well, you need it to make Crossblades, so kind of cute. Falcon Blade though has always just felt a little lackluster, so I do like them giving the Falcon Blade these small buffs. Rapier nerf. The first time I feel we've gotten a Rapier nerf. Previously we've just been getting buff after buff after buff on Rapier. Finally, I feel like Rapier is in a good spot now. I honestly was thinking that a couple patches ago, but they kept buffing it, so it feels like other people as well finally realized, like, hey, this thing's kind of good. So they're starting to be like, okay, it's a little too fast, so they're starting to slow it down. ILG buff, which I'm a little surprised about. Empowered cooldown / stamina cost is a little less now at 2 instead of 2.2. That's nice. ILG itself was kind of a bad item. Sure, Busted Blade was great, but ILG kind of sucked. This is also great for the other classes that can't make anything else with ILG, basically everything but Berserker. So it's now an option for them. You know, basically Ranger ILG and Reaper ILG are definitely not great, especially Reaper, but this can help. Like Cards ILG for Reaper is kind of cute and a meme, but it's a fun meme. What else we got here? Lightsabers giving a little more blind with 8 now. That's kind of nice. Lightsaber only builds are not great, but maybe this will help them. Divine Potion now only needs 10 debuffs instead of 20 to activate, which is huge. Still runs into the main problem of sometimes you just don't have debuffs from your opponent, so it won't activate. And it's really expensive at 9 gold. Ruby Egg now gives you 2 heat. Amazing. The egg always did feel kind of bad because outside of like Pyromancer, of course, but you know, I believe it like reflected debuffs as well, but it always felt like I'm gonna buy an egg and probably lose 2 lives, maybe 1 life at best. So this is gonna help. You're still probably gonna lose your lives, but it's a little bit of a buff, so that's nice. Stone armor buff too, health-based block from 30 to 35%. Really cute, really nice too. Great for Reaper who wants to be really tanky. Pretty cute too for classes that can increase their max HP, which is technically everyone with things like Mana Potion, but really nice for Berserker because they can use cheese and stuff to increase their max HP. So that's kind of cute. And now the class changes. Let's see what we got here. First off, we got Pyromancer. Burning Banner buff, love to see it. Or sorry, Burning Banner nerf, love to see it. Not a big nerf, though. I kind of wish they had nerfed it a little bit more in other ways than this, but I'll take it. So, increased cooldown by 0.2 seconds, which is, in my opinion, not a big nerf, but hey, they don't really do big nerfs anymore. Phoenix, it looks like they're buffing. Uses up less health now, 11 instead of 12, so that's great. Phoenix has felt a little bit meh. Nice Lantern buff here, too. A little more debuffs from the dark items. Pretty solid. Frozen Flame, heat threshold for cold from 7 to 6. I do like this. I always felt like, I always do think Cryo is great. But it did feel like it took a little too long to get enough cold on your opponent to make it feel meaningful. And now we got Berserker, which was, in my opinion, the strongest class. Brass Knuckle nerf, a little slower by 0.1 second. Shaman Mask is slower by 0.2 seconds. And Chain Whip is slower by 0.1 second. All big stuff. I would say, like, Busted Blade was the best build you could do on Berserker, but it wasn't consistent. But the best consistent build you could do was Chain Whip. And these 3 nerfs hit them all. Like, Brass Knuckle is just a really cracked item. Shaman Mask was pretty solid with Busted Blade, and, well, Chain Whip was really good. Does this kill these items? No. In all honesty, I feel like this is a very light slap on the wrist for all 3 of these items. I still think we're going to see Chain Whips and Brass Knuckles and Shaman Mask Busted Blade. But there's a Busted Blade nerf, I believe, here. Cooldown and stamina cost during Battle Rage is increased to 3 instead of 2.8. I don't think that's going to really be much of a change, but it's much nicer against things that can drain, against stamina drainers. So shields and I guess fanfare. So that's nice. Now this one, the Dragon Scale Armor nerf. I'm so happy to see this. Damage reduction 15 to 13. The first Dragon Scale Armor was already strong, but it felt manageable. If your opponent had 2 Dragon Scale Armors and a Collar to make their Battle Rage last longer, it'd be really hard to kill them through their Battle Rage. So I really like this. Still feels a little really, really good, but maybe not. Maybe it's fine. Deerwood Guardian, though, is getting buffed, and Anvil seems to be getting buffed too. Kind of nice that Berserker's not only getting nerfs, but also some buffs here. I always did feel like Deerwood was a little bit weak, so I did feel like it was the weakest, in fact, of the subclasses, so I'm glad to see it's getting a buff. Battle Rage bonus duration from 0.6 to 0.8 seconds for each of its stars, so that's really nice. Really like Deerwood that it lets you basically skip on the collars. Anvil's getting another star, so that's nice. Anvil's always felt a little awkward with Brass Knuckle being generally better most of the time, though, so I like this little buff to Anvil. And now we got Ranger. What do we got for Ranger here? Well, Yggdrasil Leaf seems to be getting nerfed. 1 less star for it. That is nice. I do like it. I still think Yggdrasil Leaf builds are going to be the best builds for Ranger with things like Mana Torches and Hearts. Piercing Arrow seems to have a 45% chance to gain luck now instead of 40. That is great. Arrow is, in my opinion, definitely the weakest of the builds. I guess you could argue maybe Mega Clover or Bowl instead. I'd say it's probably like Yggdrasil Leaf is the best, and then Ivy, and then the other 3 are fighting over 3rd place. But I do think Arrow is the weakest, especially with the Arrow. Sorry, not the Arrow. The Rapier nerf. I don't know. Arrow really worked well with Rapier, so this is nice to offset the Rapier buff for them. Bowl of Treats a buff, though. Food speed increase from 15 to 20%. That is kind of nice. Carrot Empower chance goes up to 55 instead of 50%. That's kind of cute, especially alongside the ILG buff. Maybe you can do like Excalibur, ILG, Excalibur with carrots and perhaps some blueberries and try and get Empower from your carrots to get a fast active ILG. That's kind of cute. Belladonna Shade, max damage increased by 3. Okay. Whatever on that one. And finally, my class, my favorite class, the Reaper. All right, what have we got here? Snake cooldown, 2.5 to 2.4 seconds. Pretty solid. It looks like they're finally being like, okay, crap, we kind of did over-nerf Snake. Snake even is not even that good. I feel like it was just played a lot because it was 1 easy to build. So this is nice to see. Misfortune's getting buffed. Huge buff here with Misfortune from 3 to 2.5 seconds. Means she's a great Goobert activator again. Still, though, little... Misfortune builds just, they feel a little awkward, so I'm not sure if this will help, but it is really nice. It's a really big cooldown decrease. Another patch goes by. Locklifter gets another buff. Lifesteal bonus from 8 to 9. Really good for them because there's so many easy ways to just negate healing, so this is really nice. Dark Hearts, Cap of Discomfort, Amethyst in Armor, so it's really, really nice to see this. Again, another patch, another Cauldron buff. Heal 15 to 17. I'm always grateful for a Cauldron buff. It's my favorite of the subclass items for Reaper in terms of fun. In terms of serious tryharding, I think Hexblade, Curse Dagger is the best subclass for her. I don't think this is going to make Cauldron good, though, but I might do some Cauldron runs on my YouTube channel in an upcoming video. Next up, we got Strong Divine Potion, Cleanse Threshold from 20 to 10. Makes sense because they changed the Divine Potion from 20 to 10, Cleanse Threshold. Cleanse amount 13 to 10 instead. Kind of sucks it's cleansing less, but at least it's still giving you some buffs, which is the main strength of Strong Divine Potion, in my opinion. Huge buff to Strong Vampiric Potion from 20 lifesteal to 30, a 10% increase. That's really big. My biggest problem with Vampiric Potions in general, though, Strong and the regular one, is it's really hard to make them. You need to have a Strong Health Potion, just a regular blood amulet on the board next to the potion to turn into a vampiric potion, and then another turn to turn it into a strong version. That's a lot of turns. So yeah, I don't know. Like, this is really good though. It's just, I don't know, it's not consistent enough. And our last buff for Reaper, Chonk gets 1 damage, which is whatever, in all honesty. Chonk's problem is not that he's not doing enough damage. Chonk's main problem is that, well, one, it's hard to build Chonk because you need cards and you need an egg, and then you need a Charizard, Hollow Fire Lizard, HFL, whatever you want to call it. And the second problem with Chonk is that it takes a while for him to get up to that. I believe it's 12 heat to start stunning, but that's easily alleviated by playing Hollow Fire Lizard, Charizard card. So this feels like a tacked on buff for Reaper. And our fixes. Fix the bug where a unique item could appear in the shop despite being at unique limit. Haven't seen this in game, but I have seen screenshots of this, so it is nice that they fixed it fairly quickly. So yeah, that's the entire patch. Overall, pretty solid patch. Kind of wish there was a little bit more for Reaper, but I do get it. They're trying to not, over buff some classes, but it does feel like Reaper is still not good enough. Locklifter buff is nice though. Locklifter builds with like Mana Torch, Mana Thirst do feel really, really close to being real. So I do like this. I just wish there was like another vampiric item, like a small vampiric item just to activate that extra lifesteal bonus in the back. Like I've been taking blood amulets to be filling up the diamonds in the back of the Locklifter. So really wish there was more. I also use vampiric armor too. But yeah, overall, I'd say like 7 out of 10 patch. Like not amazing, not great, but not bad. Like they hit what needed to be hit, in my opinion. Kind of wish they had nerfed some things in different ways, like Banner, for example. I really think Banner is kind of cracked, but outside of Banner, the other Pyro builds are not too hot. Pun definitely not intended, by the way. I guess Dragons, like Obsidian Dragon Burst is fine, though. And I kind of wish they had nerfed Berserker a little bit harder, but we'll see where this goes. So yeah, that will be it. Love to hear what you guys think about this patch, though. Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? What would you have liked to have seen change that they didn't change? And do you think anything got unfairly buffed or nerfed? I think everything is fine, though. Really, I'm just hyped for the new items. But yeah, that'll be it. Again, thank you all, though, for hanging out and watching the video. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me out and always helps out the channel as well. Also, if you want to keep up with the Backpack Battles content, always putting out a lot of content for the game, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well to keep up. And if you want to watch me play some Backpack Battles, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeneton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. Until I see you guys in the next one, bye!